Hi VC or anyone who might find themselves watching this video. It's Nico back again after what seems like forever, even though it's only been 3 weeks. But it's been all work since the end of the holidays. So I finally had a couple of hours to kick back and relax and listen to some music. And I thought I'd shoot this video because a couple of weeks ago I received a mighty generous VCLT from the Hogs Ear Report, Ron at the Hogs Ear Report. So I'm sure you know his channel, but I'll leave a link in the description below anyway. Go check his channel out if you haven't done so and subscribe to him. It's an awesome channel showing a lot of psych, garage and some punk stuff, and it's very educational and interesting. So in addition to the VCLT, I'd like to show some recent acquisitions. I haven't been too active record shopping, but I got a few new items, and I'd like to show you some of my Jimi Hendrix 45's. I have a little collection of 45's, but I do have a couple of cool items, so I thought I'd share them with you. Now, let's start, and I'll start showing the VCLT I got from Ron. He sent me 3 LPs and a stack of 45's, so let's just dig in. First off, we have an album by an obscure pop psych band called the Paisleys. They were out of Minneapolis and has become quite an obscure item. This is the first ever legit reissue from 2015, released on Sundays Records. They always do a nice job reissuing these old obscurities, and it says here it's produced by Warren Kendrick of the Litter and Electros. First time around when I listened to this, I was sort of yeah, but for each time I have given it a spin, it has grown on me. So it's a nice pop psych album. I need to listen more to it. It's getting better. So a cool Minneapolis psych band there. Next up we have an album by a band called The Fire Escape. I never heard of them before, and this is their only album called Psychotic Reaction. It consists of covers only, such as Talk, The Trip, 96 Tears, Fortune Teller, etc. Quite garagey underground psych here, and Discogs states that this was a fictitious band. It was originally called an LA group called the Cajuns, who were approached by they were asked to change their name to The Fire Escape and release an LP on the GNP Crescendo label. And this is now the first GNP Crescendo record I have in my collection, so quite a cool piece. And even if it's sort of an Exploito album, it sounds really cool. And I'm glad to have this original, so thank you, Ron. The third and last LP he sent me is another Exploito piece by a band called T-Swift and the Electric Bag. Never heard of them either. The record is called Are You Experienced, which it reeks of Exploito, at least to me anyway. And it's a cool, well, garagey, psychedelic record, and the track which stood out for me was actually the cover of Are You Experienced? which is a very primitive and raw rendition of the Jimi Hendrix classic. Released on Custom Records, a small time label I guess, which I've never heard about. And really a cool piece to add to the side collection there. So thank you Ron for those 3 LPs. I'll give them much more time on the turntable, and it's been a pleasure listening to them so far. As I mentioned, he also sent me a stack of singles, helping me building my 45 collection, which I really do appreciate, because he sent me a stack of cool 45's. First off, Eric Burden and the Animals with the track Monterey, backed with Ain't That So, and in really nice condition as well, it seems. You can't go wrong with Eric Burden and the Animals. Next up, some bubblegum or pop psych, or what you want to call it. It's the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, Simon Says, with an awesome track called Reflections from the Looking Glass on the flip side there. So the B-side is way cool. Next up, I think this single, you have to correct me on this one Ron, but I think it's Styrene. At least it feels very different to an ordinary vinyl single or record. And Ron has talked about Styrene singles in his videos before, and he told me that Styrene singles, they weren't pressed the conventional way, such as the vinyl records, but it was pressed into a mold instead, and I think the labels were glued on, sticked on afterwards. But this single by the 5 Americans is a nice garage piece, and I don't know which of the songs, but one of these were a major hit, Ron wrote to me in his letter. So a way cool garage single from the US there. But let me know Ron if this is Styrene or ordinary vinyl, because it feels different than and it looks kind of different as well than ordinary vinyl, but I'm no expert on the era. Okay, next up we have a nice single on Decca Records. It's The Who with I Can See for Miles, and this version is the one with the overdub bass, so the bass line is very present on this version. I had this version way back in the 80s, I think, on a CD compilation called the Singles Collection or something, I don't remember. So this was a great revisit to that version. On the flip side we have Mary Ann with the shaky hand, don't know if you can see that, and it's an alternate take from the one which you can find on the album Who Sell Out. So a very nice piece to add to the collection. And I have to say, all of these singles are in very nice shape. Nice additions. Next up, an original US copy, I think, of Rolling Stones' Jumping Jack Flash, back with Child of the Moon on London. I do have the British version here on Decca Records, but my old copy has seen better days. It's been played quite a lot. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but it's been played a lot and it's beat. The cover is in nice shape though, but a well played single. So this is a nice upgrade for me. Thank you. Then Ron sent me Pink Floyd, Point Me at the Sky. This is a reissue of the obscure single they released in 1968, and this is a reissue, I think, from 1978, I think Ron stated, and it's an Italian reissue on the Harvest label. Now, I had this from before, but my copy was is a 1973 reissue. And this, first of all, is in better shape, and the cover is different as well, because on the flip side of my old copy you have a picture of Dark Side of the Moon and a list of Pink Floyd's discography, so this version is way cooler to me anyway. But I'll be sure to pass on my old copy to someone who wants it. So, thank you, Ron. These are all excellent choices. Last but certainly not least, and perhaps the record in the VCLT which I appreciated the most. It's an 80s reissue by the band Misunderstood, and they released only 1 or 2 singles back in 67, 68, I think. And the Misunderstood were originally a US band, and they relocated to the UK and added another guitar player called Tony Hill. Now, of course, Tony Hill later started the heavy progressive rock quartet High Tide, who released 2 albums in their day, and have continued later with another lineup releasing numerous albums. But Tony Hill is one of my all-time favorite guitar players, and I really love those 2 High Tide albums, so this was a nice piece to add to my collection. And of course the Misunderstood split up in 1969, I think, and Glenn Campbell, the other guitar player, not the Glenn Campbell, but another Glenn Campbell, he played slide guitar and founded the band Juicy Lucy, who released 3 or 4 albums, a couple of them on the Vertigo Swirl label. But this is a nice 45 with a track by Tony Hill called Children of the Sun, an awesome garagey psych rock piece, and of course Who Do You Love and I'll Take You to the Sun. So this is a fantastic listen. I'm so pleased to have this, Ron. So thank you very much for that generous VCLT, and I am in the middle of compiling some stuff to send your way as well, and which I hope you will be satisfied with. I had to change my plans, but I'm getting something together for you, so I'll let you know when I ship it from Norway and out your way. Well, that was the VCLT segment. Now on to some recent finds, and first of all I would like to give a shout out to Helmet Diggy and his channel. Bill recommended the next record I'm going to show in his last video. Fantastic music in the background on that video, and he recommended the rest of us to check out Ray LaMontagne's last album, Ouroboros, I don't know how to pronounce it. You can read for yourself if it shows. But this is a wonderful, dreamy, spacey, psychedelic, singer-songwriter style, easy, chilling, relaxing music. If you know My Morning Jacket and Jim James from My Morning Jacket, he has produced and played a lot of the instruments on this one, and you can definitely tell. So if you like My Morning Jacket and chill late night music records, this is certainly one to grab. I just love it. It's one of my favorite records the last weeks. Next up we have Daryl Way's Wolf, and Daryl Way was a violinist for a well-known prog band in the 70s. I can't remember the name, brain fart there, but Daryl Way started his own band and released a couple of records. And if you like your typical British prog rock with exceptional musicians and some violin workout, That's perhaps something for you. Quite cheap to pick up originals. Next up, I grabbed a fairly recent reissue of Electric Prunes Underground, an exact repro of the original. But I have to tell you, I don't know what's the fuss about this band. It certainly wasn't to my liking, so if anyone's interested in a reissue in excellent condition of Electric Prunes Underground, just let me know. I bought another one from the band Pato, the UK prog rock band from the early 70s, featuring Ollie Holsall on guitar, vibraphone, piano and all sorts. And a multi-talented musician who passed away too early. But I have the first two Pato albums, the self-titled debut and Hold Your Fire, which I find are magnificent prog blues rock albums, and thought I'd buy this when I found it for cheap, and I have to tell you, it's awful. Just a collection of uninspired boogie rock and loose jam-based songs. So quite disappointing. Pato. The best thing about the album is the title, Roll 'em, Smoke 'em and Put Another Line Out. So that's the best feature of the album. I also found a cheap reissue of Syd Barrett's Madcap Laughs, and this isn't a recent reissue. It's a 1973 reissue from what I have deciphered online, and it's on Harvest, but it has the EMI box. But I don't care too much, because when I find either old reissues or new ones for a nice affordable price in nice condition, I'll pick them up. And this is an old reissue in excellent shape for a fraction of the price of an original. So now I have multiple copies of Madcap Laughs. Another UK oldie but goldie, and one I had from before but had to pick up from the same batch is of course Disraeli Gears by Cream. And it's very hard to decipher what's the original issue. This is a stereo issue. It has the drat leaf and copyright control on one side, and it has drat leaf and immediate music on the other side. But it has printer's credits below on the cover, so I don't know. It's an early issue, and it's in quite good shape. VG+, I'd say, and for a very nice price. So I just had to pick it up. I couldn't leave it sitting there by itself. A recommendation from me to you is the Swedish space psychedelic band Lamagaya and their last LP from 2016, I think, simply called Lamagaya. This is a wonderful demonstration in spacey, progressive psychedelic rock. Very drony, very ambient, and very transcendental. A wonderful record. Lamagaya have released two albums, one called Lamagayas and this one, their second, called Lamagaya, and a single which I forgot to bring along for the showings. Well, let's see how we're doing for time. 19 minutes. Let me show you a couple of recent pickups. 45's, that is. Jericho. Hey Man, I showed you their last LP, Jericho, from 1972 in my last video. And this is a single with non-album tracks from the same year. Not half as good as the album, but cool songs and quite cheap to pick up. And I filled the last hole in my Hansen & Carlsen collection, scoring this first single which they released in 1967 called Leading Airport, backed with Canada Lumberyard. Wonderful psychedelic instrumental music, only Hammond organ and drums. There's actually a bit of guitar on this one as well, on the GPS label, and this is in quite nice shape. So that was a lucky score for me on a Swedish website who also carry a lot of sealed original albums. For instance, he has a box of sealed The Trolls originals, but his asking price is quite high. Last but not least, I want to show you my Jimi Hendrix 45's, which I've had for some time, but never shown them before. So, first off, a German original of Hey Joe, backed with Stone Free on a Polydor label. And the reason for having this one, except for it having a picture cover, is that here's the original mono mix of Stone Free. On all compilation albums and later issues, Stone Free was released in fake stereo. So this is the way to listen to Stone Free. I also have Jimi Hendrix and Curtis Knight's sort of a semi-exploito single Hush Now, backed with Flashing on London Records. Some legal hassles over this one. And old contracts written by Mr. Hendrix himself before he became famous. Another German original, Burning of the Midnight Lamp, backed with The Stars That Play with Laughing Sam's Dice. Most of these have white backsides, but cool picture sleeves. Another one, a German one, All Along the Watchtower, backed with Can You See Me? An odd couple there. I don't know if the glare is too much, but a nice picture sleeve on the Polydor label. Most of these were issued on the Polydor label outside of England. Crosstown Traffic and Gypsy Eyes, another cool one to have. And I think, yes, here, The Wind Cries Mary, backed with Highway Child. Highway Child is another exceptional but somewhat forgotten track, I think. This is a weird one. Also from Germany, I think, yes. And this states Up From the Skies and One Rainy Wish. Up From the Skies is actually the track EXP of Axis Boldest Love, and not Up From the Skies, which follows that track on the album. So it's a misprint or something, I don't know, but it's a cool one to have. A really nice picture sleeve there. Last up for today is Jimi Hendrix, Angel and Freedom. I guess this was released posthumously. And a really nice one to have this one as well. So that's all I had to show today, but I guess I'll be back before you know it with another batch of LPs. So until then, just have a nice one and take care everyone. Bye for now.